You kept them from me for 6 years, Amara.
And whose fault is that? The night I came to tell you, your mother was planning my erasure like I was a stain on your perfect empire.
I used to believe my life would be measured by skyscrapers. I'm Amara Lewis, the architect who changed San Francisco's skyline with Aurora Spire. But the night I stood at the height of glory under flashing lights and thunderous applause, one phone call shattered everything. The man who believed in me most was nearly killed in a fire I suspect was no accident, and that was only the beginning. I had no idea that moment would pull me into a whirlwind of power, betrayal, love, and a secret I've kept for 6 years.
Before I share the whole story, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever survived a moment you thought you couldn't.
The champagne bubbled against my lips, but I couldn't taste it. Not with 500 pairs of eyes watching me from below, waiting for the African-American architect who'd dared to reimagine San Francisco's skyline to stumble over her words. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart, "Aurora Spire isn't just a building. It's proof that sustainable architecture can honor our past while embracing our future." The crowd erupted in applause. Camera flashes painted stars across my vision as I stood on the observation deck of my creation, 47 floors of curved glass and solar panels that caught the setting sun like a promise. The Yoruba patterns etched into the support beams weren't just decoration. They were my grandmother's stories made steel, my heritage woven into the city's fabric. My phone vibrated against my hip. Once, twice, 3 times. I ignored it, raising my glass higher. "To building a world where—" The 4th vibration broke my concentration. Nobody had this number except Marcus. My hand trembled as I glanced at the screen. 7 missed calls. A text that made my blood freeze. "Amara, there's been an accident. They found James in the construction zone. It's bad. James, my mentor. The only person who'd believed in me when every firm in the city said a 28-year-old black woman couldn't handle a project this size." "Excuse me," I whispered into the microphone, my carefully rehearsed speech crumbling. "I need to—" That's when I saw him. Ethan Drake entered the rooftop garden like he owned the air itself. Everything about him screamed power, from the way his tailored suit caught the wind to how conversations died in his wake. CEO of Drake Capital, the man who could make or break careers with a single phone call. Our eyes met across the crowd, and something electric passed between us. Not attraction, not yet, but recognition. Like 2 architects spotting the same flaw in a blueprint. "Ms. Lewis?" His voice cut through the murmur of concern that had followed my abrupt pause. "Congratulations on Aurora Spire. It's unexpected." Unexpected. The word every reviewer used when they couldn't quite believe a black woman had pulled this off. "Mr. Drake," I forced steel into my spine. "I wasn't aware you were interested in sustainable architecture." "I'm interested in the future." He stepped closer, and I caught a hint of something dark and expensive. Cologne or ambition, I couldn't tell. "Your building changes the game. Makes my developments look like dinosaurs." Before I could respond, security pushed through the crowd. "Ms. Lewis, we need you to come with us. There's been an incident." The room spun. James, the accident. But Ethan's hand found my elbow, steadying me with surprising gentleness. "I'll handle the crowd," he murmured, low enough that only I could hear. "Go." I should have questioned why Ethan Drake would help me. Should have wondered what the most ruthless developer in San Francisco wanted with my moment of crisis. But James was dying. I could feel it in my bones, and nothing else mattered. As security led me toward the elevator, I heard Ethan's voice boom across the rooftop. "Ladies and gentlemen, a slight delay. Let me tell you about the future of San Francisco." The elevator doors closed on his words, but not before I caught one last glimpse of him. He stood where I'd been, commanding the crowd's attention like he'd been born to it. But just before the doors sealed shut, he looked back at me. And in that look, I saw something that terrified me more than James's accident, more than the weight of success, more than anything. I saw a man who understood exactly what it felt like to be alone at the top. James survived, barely. 3rd-degree burns covered 40% of his body, and the doctors wouldn't say if he'd ever walk again. I sat in the hospital waiting room at 3 a.m., still wearing my cocktail dress, when Ethan Drake appeared with 2 cups of coffee. "How did you know I was here?" I asked, too exhausted to be suspicious. Security footage showed an electrical fire in the construction zone. "Your mentor was working late, checking the smart building systems." He handed me a cup. "James Patterson is the only person you'd leave your own celebration for." He'd done his homework. Of course he had. "The fire wasn't an accident," I said, surprising myself with the admission. "Someone tampered with the wiring." Ethan's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air between us. "You have proof?" "James called me during the party. Said he'd found something wrong with the AI integration. Someone wanted Aurora Spire to fail." "Or wanted you to fail," Ethan said quietly. We sat in silence, sipping terrible hospital coffee while the weight of that truth settled between us. Outside, San Francisco glittered like a circuit board, all light and possibility. But in here, in this sterile waiting room, I felt the shadows pressing in. "Why are you here?" I finally asked. "Really?" Ethan leaned back, and for the first time I saw exhaustion crack his perfect facade. "Because I know what it's like to have everyone waiting for you to fall. To be so far ahead that the only direction people expect you to go is down." "Poor little rich boy," I said, but without venom. "Poor little black girl," he countered, matching my tone exactly. Despite everything, I almost smiled. "That's different." "Is it?" He turned to face me fully. "You think I don't see how they look at you? Like you're playing with Legos while the real architects do the work? I've been watching you for 2 years, Amara. Every project, every innovation, every time they tried to bury your proposals under bureaucracy." "Stalker much?" "Competitor," he corrected. "Your modular housing project in Oakland made my luxury condos look like monuments to greed. Your community centers actually served communities instead of gentrifying them. You're the future I've been trying to buy my way into." The honesty stunned me. Ethan Drake, corporate shark extraordinaire, admitting weakness? "I have a proposition," he continued. "The Eden Project, a net zero city within the city. Affordable housing integrated with high-end sustainable development, the kind of project that needs both of us." "You want to hire me?" "I want to partner with you. Equal stakes, your vision, my resources." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Enjoy your evening, Ms. Lewis." The voice was digitally altered, but the malice came through clear. "Your mentor should have minded his own business. Consider tonight a warning. Stay away from Drake, or your pretty building might have an accident too." The line went dead. Ethan watched my face change. "What is it?" I should have lied, should have protected myself. But sitting in that hospital at the crossroads of exhaustion and fear, I made a choice that would haunt me for years. I told him everything. By dawn, we'd mapped out a plan. Ethan's security team would investigate the threat while I kept designing like nothing was wrong. We'd meet secretly to plan Eden Project, keeping our collaboration hidden until we could identify the enemy. "There's a place," he said as sunrise painted the hospital walls gold. "My workshop in Marin, off the grid. We could work there." I should have said no. Should have recognized the danger in those secret meetings, in the way his eyes lingered on my sketches, and how his hand brushed mine when we reached for the same pencil. But I was 28 and brilliant and angry. Someone had tried to destroy my life's work, had nearly killed my mentor. If partnering with Ethan Drake gave me the resources to fight back, then I'd deal with the consequences later. "Tomorrow night," I agreed. "After visiting hours." Ethan stood to leave, then paused. "Amara, whatever happens, don't let them make you small. The world needs your buildings." He left before I could respond, disappearing into the morning crowd like smoke. But his words stayed, echoing in the empty waiting room. That night, I went home to my empty apartment and stared at the San Francisco skyline. Aurora Spire rose like a beacon, my Yoruba patterns catching the city lights. Beautiful, defiant, alone. I didn't know then that I'd already made the choice that would send me running from this view. Didn't know that Ethan Drake would become both my salvation and my destruction. All I knew was that for the first time since I'd started fighting for my place in this city, I didn't feel alone. 6 years. That's how long I'd been gone from San Francisco. 6 years of small projects and smaller dreams, of teaching my twins to see beauty in the humble architecture of Austin's community centers instead of soaring skyscrapers. Mama, look! Zane held up his latest creation, a house made entirely of recycled materials we'd gathered from construction sites. It can survive a Category 5 hurricane. His twin brother Zion sat quietly beside him, calculating load-bearing weights on scratch paper. Always the engineer to Zane's artist. "That's beautiful, baby," I said, kneeling to examine their work. The design was sophisticated, too sophisticated for 6-year-olds. But then their father had been brilliant too. "When can we build a real one?" Zane asked, his eyes, Ethan's eyes, sparkling with possibility. "Someday," I lied, the same lie I told whenever they asked about the towers in my old sketches, about the city I'd fled, about why we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment when Mama designed houses for other people. My mother, Laverne, emerged from the kitchen with her usual perfect timing. "Boys, come help Grandma with the bread. Let your mama work." They scrambled after her, leaving me alone with my laptop and the email I'd been avoiding all morning, an invitation to speak at the Global Green Architecture Conference in San Francisco. My hands shook as I reread it. They wanted me to present on architecture for social justice, the work I'd been doing in Austin's underserved communities. Small projects, safe projects, nothing like Aurora Spire, which still made headlines as the building that had revolutionized sustainable design. I should have deleted it, should have maintained the careful life I'd built here, where nobody knew about the night I'd fled San Francisco with a positive pregnancy test and my career in ashes. But the sender's name stopped me. Marcus Williams, my old colleague, the only person who'd tried to defend me when the headlines screamed about the Black architect who'd slept her way to success. His personal note was simple. "The industry needs your voice, Amara. It's been too long. You're going to say yes." My mother stood in the doorway, flour dusting her hands. "I can't." Because of him? I'd never told her Ethan's name, but mothers know. She'd held me through the morning sickness and the tears, had moved from Louisiana to help me raise the boys, had never once asked who their father was. But she knew. "Because of them," I said, nodding toward the sound of my sons arguing about proper bread kneading technique. "What if someone recognizes? What if you keep hiding, and those babies grow up thinking their mama was too scared to show them what she could really build?" The words stung because they were true. Every night, I sketched buildings I'd never propose, designed sustainable cities I'd never pitch. I was teaching my sons to dream big while living small, and the hypocrisy was eating me alive. That night, after the boys were asleep, I sat on our tiny balcony and opened my old portfolio. Aurora Spire dominated the screen, but I scrolled past it to the Eden Project sketches, the ones Ethan and I had created during those stolen weeks before everything fell apart. We'd been so naive, thinking we could merge affordable housing with luxury development, that we could change the industry's DNA. But looking at those designs now, with 6 years of community-focused work under my belt, I saw what we'd been missing. The phone rang, startling me. "Marcus." "I knew you'd be awake," he said without preamble. "Listen, I didn't want to pressure you in the email, but there's something you should know. Ethan Drake is the primary sponsor of the conference." My heart stopped. "What?" "He's unveiling Eden Project. Finally. 6 years of development, and he's ready to break ground. But Amara," Marcus paused, "the designs look different, like he's trying to build your vision without your soul." I closed my eyes, seeing Ethan's face that last night. The confusion, the anger, the hurt when I'd refused his calls and disappeared without explanation. I'd thought I was protecting everyone, my career from the scandal, my babies from a father who'd never wanted children, myself from loving a man who collected companies like playing cards. "He doesn't know," Marcus said quietly. "About the boys. Nobody does. You covered your tracks well. Too well. I'd erased myself so thoroughly that my sons didn't even know San Francisco existed on our map." "Send me the conference details," I heard myself say. "I'll think about it." But I'd already decided, because my mother was right. I couldn't teach my boys to build dreams while living in fear. And because some part of me, the part that still sketched impossible buildings at 3 a.m., needed to see what Ethan had done with our vision. That night, I pulled out the plans Zion and Zane had drawn. Their hurricane-proof house wasn't just clever, it was brilliant. They'd inherited their father's spatial intelligence and my eye for human-centered design. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. Maybe it was time to show my sons what their mother could build when she wasn't afraid. Standing at the podium in San Francisco's Moscone Center, I forced myself to breathe. 700 architects, developers, and urban planners filled the auditorium. Somewhere in that sea of faces was Ethan Drake. 6 years ago, I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I left San Francisco believing that architecture was about creating monuments. I was wrong. The presentation clicked forward, showing not Aurora Spire but the community center in East Austin, where my boys took art classes. Architecture is about creating possibilities. It's about building homes, not just houses. Communities, not just buildings. I talked about the flood-resistant homes we'd designed after Hurricane Harvey, the cooling centers that had saved lives during Texas heat waves, the playgrounds that cleaned the air while kids played. Small projects, human projects. We talk about sustainable architecture as if it's about solar panels and smart glass, I continued, clicking through slides of families in their new homes. But true sustainability means building for the people who will outlive our buildings. It means, I saw him. Third row center. Those storm gray eyes I'd tried to forget boring into mine. Ethan looked older, harder somehow. Success had sharpened his edges where it had softened mine. For a moment, I lost my words. 6 years collapsed into nothing. I was 28 again, standing on Aurora Spire's rooftop, falling into the gravity of his ambition. But then I remembered why I was here. It means remembering that every blueprint is a promise to someone's future, I finished, holding his gaze. And promises matter. The applause was thunderous, but I barely heard it. Ethan never looked away, not during the Q&A, not during the networking break. He waited, patient as a predator, until the crowd thinned. Hello, Amara. 2 words, and my carefully constructed walls cracked. His voice was exactly as I remembered. Controlled surface, dangerous depths. Ethan, that was quite a presentation, very different from the woman who wanted to build monuments to sustainability. People change. Do they? He stepped closer, and I caught that same expensive scent that had haunted my dreams. Or do they run? Before I could respond, someone called my name. A young architect clutching a magazine with Aurora Spire on the cover, wanting an autograph. Then another, and another. When I finally looked back, Ethan was gone. But that evening, I found him waiting outside my hotel. The fog rolled in from the bay, wrapping us in gray intimacy. We need to talk, he said. We needed to talk 6 years ago. That window closed. You left. The words came out raw, uncontrolled. No explanation, no forwarding address, just gone. I'd practiced this moment 1,000 times, but standing here, seeing the hurt I'd caused, my rehearsed words crumbled. It was necessary. Necessary? He laughed, bitter and sharp. Do you know what happened after you left? The investigation into the Aurora Spire sabotage led nowhere because my star witness vanished. The media painted you as a gold digger who got scared when things got serious. I couldn't defend you without making it worse. I never asked you to defend me. No, you just disappeared and let me wonder if any of it was real. He turned to face the bay. Eden Project broke ground next month. Every sustainable housing unit, every community space. I built it, thinking someday you'd see it and know I kept my promise. My throat tightened. Ethan, I have a proposition. He cut me off, CEO mask sliding back into place. 1 week, consult on Eden Project. Tell me everything I did wrong. Help me fix it before we're too far to turn back. I can't. Why? He turned back, and for a moment, I saw past his armor. What aren't you telling me, Amara? What was so terrible that you had to erase yourself? The boys, my heart screamed. Your sons are asleep in Austin, building hurricane-proof houses with their grandmother. I have commitments, I said instead. A life in Texas. A week, he pressed. That's all. I'll pay whatever consulting fee you want. Just help me build this right. I thought about Zion's careful calculations, Zane's wild creativity. Thought about the trust fund I'd never touched, too proud to use Ethan's money even when we'd eaten ramen for months. Thought about my boys deserving more than a mother who hid from her own potential. One condition, I heard myself say. This stays professional. No questions about the past. Fine. But his eyes said it wasn't fine. His eyes said the past was a ghost that would haunt every blueprint we touched. Monday morning, I agreed. Your office. 1 week. As I walked away, I didn't tell him that Monday was the twins' birthday. Didn't mention that Zane had Ethan's smile or that Zion had his way of tilting his head when thinking. Didn't confess that I'd named them for the heights I'd never reach, Zion for the promised land, Zane for the grace I'd need to survive. 1 week. I could survive 1 week. The community gardens should be here. I pointed to the blueprint, trying to ignore how close Ethan stood. 4 days into our consultation, and his presence still made my skin hum. You've prioritized efficiency over accessibility. The original design had them there. His finger traced the spot where we'd dreamed of rooftop gardens 6 years ago. You always insisted the gardens needed southern exposure. People change, I repeated my new mantra, but my hand shook as I marked the revision. His assistant knocked. Mr. Drake, Channel 7 is here for the Eden Project feature. Tell them 10 minutes. He never looked away from the blueprints. From me. Actually, I said, gathering my things, I should go. You don't need me for... Stay. The word was soft but carried weight. You designed half of this. You should be part of the story. We agreed. Professional only. This is professional. The lead architect explaining her vision. I wanted to run, but something in his voice, pride maybe, or possessiveness, made me stay. A mistake, like every choice I'd made since returning to San Francisco. The reporter was young, eager, the kind who'd grown up on stories of the tech boom. She lit up when she saw me. Amara Lewis, the architect of Aurora Spire. This is incredible. Are you partnering with Drake Industries again? Ms. Lewis is consulting on community integration aspects, Ethan said smoothly. Her expertise in social architecture is unmatched. We talked about sustainable cities, about building for people instead of profit. Safe topics, professional topics. Until the reporter pulled out her tablet. I have to show you this. My niece won the Young Architects competition last month. These 6-year-old twins from Austin designed the most amazing hurricane-resistant structure. Look at this innovation. The blood drained from my face. There on the screen were Zion and Zane, holding their award, beaming. The local Austin paper had done a feature. Remarkable, Ethan said, leaning closer. The support system is similar to... He stopped, went completely still. I watched him see it. The way Zion stood, hands clasped behind his back exactly like Ethan did when thinking. Zane's smile, crooked in the same way that made board members trust Ethan against their better judgment. What are their names? His voice was carefully neutral. Zion and Zane Lewis, the reporter chirped. Their mom's an architect too, works with low-income housing. Isn't it amazing how talent runs in families? Ethan's eyes found mine. 1,000 questions burned there, but the camera was rolling. Amazing, he agreed. Excuse me, I need to make a call. He left. I finished the interview on autopilot, talking about community spaces while my world crumbled. The reporter thanked me and left, and I stood alone in an office that suddenly felt like a trap. I was packing my things when Ethan returned. How old are they? No preamble, no cushioning. Ethan, how old? 6. The word fell between us like a stone in still water. They turned 6 on Monday. He sat down hard, CEO composure shattered. Were you ever going to tell me? I tried. The lie tasted bitter. The night I left, you disappeared. No note, no explanation. Just gossip rags saying you'd used me for career advancement. He laughed, sharp and broken. I blamed myself. Thought I'd pushed too hard, moved too fast. Never imagined. You didn't want children. You made that clear from the beginning. I was 33 and building an empire. That's not the same as... He stopped, ran his hands through his hair. My God, Amara. Twins, my sons, and I've missed everything. First words, first steps, first... The pain in his voice broke something in me. They're happy, healthy, brilliant. Do they know about me? They know their father builds things, beautiful, impossible things. I sank into a chair. Zane wants to be an artist-architect. Zion prefers the engineering side. They're extraordinary, Ethan. Like their mother. Like their father. We sat in silence as 6 years of lies and loneliness stretched between us. Outside, San Francisco hummed with life, but in this office, time had stopped. I want to meet them, he said finally. No. They're my sons. They're my babies. And you're engaged to Victoria Pemberton. I saw the announcement. Merger of dynasties, the papers called it. That's not... Your mother orchestrated the whole thing, didn't she? Just like she orchestrated the smear campaign that drove me out of San Francisco. Ethan went very still. What are you talking about? The threatening calls, the planted stories, all traced back to a PR firm your mother keeps on retainer. I stood, needing distance. She won. You got your perfect society fiancé, and I got to keep my boys safe from a world that would have destroyed them. Amara, one more day. I cut him off. I'll finish the Eden Project consultation. Then I go back to Austin and we pretend this never happened. You can't keep my children from me. Watch me. I headed for the door. I've spent 6 years protecting them from your world. I won't stop now. Our world, he called after me. You helped build this world, Amara. You can't pretend you don't belong here. But I was already gone, running like I had 6 years ago. Only this time, I was running toward my boys, not away from their father. The call came at midnight. Ms. Lewis, this is Rebecca Martinez from the San Francisco Chronicle. I'm fact-checking a story about your children and their connection to Ethan Drake. Would you care to comment? I hung up and threw my phone across the hotel room. It took Cordelia Drake exactly 18 hours to weaponize my children. By morning, my phone had 57 missed calls. The Austin newspaper that had innocently covered the boys' award was running a follow-up. Local architect secret, her twins are Drake Empire heirs. I booked the first flight home, but Ethan intercepted me at the hotel. I didn't tell her, he said. I need you to know that. It doesn't matter. I kept packing. She figured it out, just like she always figures out how to destroy anything that threatens her perfect plan. I've handled my mother. That stopped me. Nobody handles Cordelia Drake. I told her if she goes near you or the boys, she'll lose her position on the board. He looked exhausted, older than his 39 years. And I called off the engagement. Victoria's father is threatening to pull funding from Eden Project, but I don't care. You called off. Why? Because I have children, sons I've never met. Because their mother is the only woman who ever saw me as more than a bank account with a pulse. He stepped closer. Because I've spent 6 years building our dream alone, and it's empty. All of it. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Reporters at the apartment. Took the boys to my sister's. They're scared, baby. I have to go. I zipped my suitcase. My children need me. Our children. No. I spun to face him. They're mine. I fed them when you were building your empire. I held them through fevers while you were picking china patterns with Victoria. They're mine. I didn't know they existed. And whose fault is that? The words exploded out of me. I came to your office that night. Saw the wedding planning books on your desk. The merger documents. Your mother explaining how Victoria would give you the respectability I never could. Ethan went white. You were there? Security let me up. One last time, I thought. One last chance to tell you about the pregnancy before I left. I laughed bitterly. Instead, I got to hear Cordelia explaining how the Lewis situation would be handled. How you'd already agreed that I was a phase. It doesn't matter. Exhaustion crashed over me. We have to protect them now. That's all that matters. My phone rang again. This time I recognized the number. Sage Drake, Ethan's sister. Don't hang up, she said quickly. I'm in Austin, at your mother's sister's house. I have a proposition. I put her on speaker. How did you find you? Please. I've been tracking my mother's scheme since I was 12. Her voice was crisp, lawyerly. Listen, Cordelia's planning a custody play. Unfit mother, unstable lifestyle, the works. But I have ammunition. Sage, Ethan warned. No, you listen too, big brother. 6 years ago, our mother paid a PR firm to destroy Amara's reputation. I have the receipts, emails, payment records, the whole thing. But if we use them, it goes nuclear. Drake Industries' stock will tank. I don't care about the stock, Ethan said. But I care about my boys, I said. They don't need to grow up in the middle of a corporate war. Then we need another solution, Sage said. Can I meet them, my nephews? I promise I come in peace. I thought about Zion and Zane, scared and confused, their safe world shattered. 1 hour, and if you upset them, I'll teach them to hotwire cars and pick locks. Useful skills in this family. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Sage had always been the rebel Drake, the one who chose law over business, who defended the people her family's empire displaced. 1 hour, I agreed. After I hung up, Ethan and I stood in silence. The city noise filtered through the windows, sirens, construction, life moving forward while ours hung suspended. I'm sorry, he said finally. For all of it. For my mother, for not fighting harder, for letting you think you were just a phase when you were... He stopped. You were everything. Our everything. Don't. I couldn't handle his regret on top of everything else. We have to focus on the boys. Tell me about them. His voice broke on the request. Please. Something. Anything. I should have stayed silent. Should have protected the memories like I'd protected the boys. But I was tired of carrying it all alone. Zion reads architectural theory for fun. He's working through your college textbooks. I kept them. I sat on the bed, suddenly exhausted. Zane draws buildings in his dreams. Says they talk to him. Tell him how they want to be built. Like you. Like both of us. I met his eyes. They're brilliant, Ethan. And kind. And funny. And they deserve better than being pawns in your mother's games. Then let's protect them. Together. There is no together. There's just me doing what I've always done, keeping them safe. From me? From all of it. The media, the money, the impossibility of being a Drake without losing yourself. He knelt in front of me, and suddenly we were too close, 6 years collapsing into nothing. What if I don't want to be a Drake anymore? What if I just want to be their father? It doesn't work that way. Then we make it work. His hands found mine. Amara, I've built everything we dreamed of. Every sustainable tower, every community space. But none of it matters because you weren't there. They weren't there. My phone buzzed. A photo from Sage. The boys at a park. Zion explaining something serious to his aunt while Zane drew in the dirt. Safe. Whole. Mine. 1 week, I said. You can meet them. Supervised. Then we figure out the rest. Thank you. But I wasn't doing it for him. I was doing it for 2 boys who deserved to know that their father had built Eden Project not for profit, but for the same reason they built hurricane-proof houses from recycled dreams. For love. The Drake Industries boardroom hadn't changed in 6 years. Same mahogany table, same portraits of dead industrialists, same Cordelia Drake presiding like a queen over her kingdom. Ms. Lewis. She didn't look up from her papers. I wondered when maternal instinct would override your pride. Mrs. Drake. I remained standing. Let's skip the pleasantries. What do you want? My son's happiness. My family's legacy. Neither of which includes bastard children with a gold digger. The slur hit exactly as intended, but I'd been called worse. Careful, Cordelia. Your lawyer might have mentioned that defamation suits are expensive. She finally looked up, and I saw Ethan in her bone structure. Sage in her calculating eyes. Sit down, dear. Let's discuss this like civilized people. Civilized people don't threaten 6-year-olds. I haven't threatened anyone. I've simply ensured that certain facts become public knowledge. She slid a folder across the table. Your financial records. Every struggle, every late payment, every time you chose pride over your children's welfare. I opened it, seeing my life reduced to spreadsheets. The months we'd lived on peanut butter, the hospital bill from when Zane broke his arm, the scholarship applications for the boys' art classes. A mother who truly loved her children would have asked for help, Cordelia continued. Instead, you let them suffer to spite us. I let them thrive without you. In a 2-bedroom apartment? With a grandmother who works 3 jobs? She leaned forward. I'm offering a solution. Sign over custody to Ethan. You'll receive $10 million and can remain in their lives. Everyone wins. Everyone except my sons, who'd be raised by a woman who sees them as embarrassments. They're Drakes. I'll ensure they become men worthy of the name. Like Ethan? I stood. So controlled he can't admit feeling, so isolated that he builds entire cities just to avoid being alone. That's your vision for my boys? The door burst open. Ethan stood there, Sage behind him, both faces thunderous. Mother, he said quietly. Too quietly. Legal tells me you've scheduled an emergency board meeting. Something about protecting the company from scandal? Darling, Cordelia's mask never slipped. This doesn't concern you. My children don't concern me? Your alleged children. DNA tests pending, of course. Sage. Ethan never looked away from his mother. Show her. Sage stepped forward with her tablet. Security footage from 6 years ago. Amara entering Drake Industries at 11:47 p.m., leaving at 12:23 a.m. in obvious distress. Audio from your office. Shall I play it? Cordelia went still. Or we could discuss the payments to Morrison PR, Sage continued. The smear campaign. The threatening calls traced to burner phones your assistant purchased. I'm a very good lawyer, Mother, and an even better daughter when my family's threatened. You wouldn't dare expose— I would. Ethan moved to stand beside me. Not touching, but close enough that I felt his warmth. I've already scheduled my own press conference. In 1 hour, I announce that I have 2 sons, that their mother is the brilliant architect I've loved for 6 years, that anyone who threatens my family, anyone, will face complete destruction. You're throwing away everything. For what? For her? For them. His voice carried the same intensity I remembered from late nights designing impossible buildings. For Zion and Zane. For the family you tried to steal from me. The board will revolt. The stock will crash. Then it crashes. He turned to me. Amara, I need 5 minutes with my mother. Sage will take you to the car. I hesitated, but Sage touched my arm. Come on, let him handle the dragon. It's long overdue. As we walked out, I heard Ethan's voice, low and lethal. You have 2 choices, Mother. Accept my family with grace or lose your son forever. Decide quickly. In the elevator, Sage studied me. You know he never touched Victoria. The engagement was for show, to keep Mother quiet while he searched for you. He searched? Like a madman. Private investigators, lawyers, hackers, but you're very good at disappearing. I had to be. I know. She squeezed my hand. But you don't have to be anymore. We emerged into chaos. Reporters everywhere shouting questions. Sage guided me through, but one voice pierced the din. Ms. Lewis, Ethan Drake just announced he's resigning as CEO. Can you comment? I stopped. What? Sage pulled me into the waiting car. Drive, she told the chauffeur, then turned to me. He meant it. About choosing family. My phone rang. Ethan. Is it true? I demanded. Did you just give up everything? No. His voice was calm. I gave up nothing that matters. Eden Project will continue. I've ensured that. But I won't raise our sons in that boardroom battlefield. I won't let them think power matters more than presence. Ethan, I'm flying to Austin tonight. We need to talk. Really talk. Without lawyers or mothers or gossip columns. He paused. I met them today. What? Sage introduced us at the park, told them I was an old friend. Zion asked about the structural integrity of the swing set. Zane wanted to know if I'd ever built a castle. His voice cracked. They're perfect, Amara. How did you create such perfect humans? I had good material to work with, I admitted. I have something for you, for them. Check your email. I opened it to find architectural plans. Not for a building, but for a house. A family home with 2 separate wings for the boys, a massive garden for my mother, a studio where I could design without limits. You designed us a house? 6 years of sketches. Every time I missed you, I added a room. It's probably too big now. I traced the lines on my phone, seeing our ghost life made real. The breakfast nook where we'd never eaten. The library where bedtime stories had never echoed. The workshop where 2 boys could build their dreams. I can't. Yes, you can. No strings. No custody battles. Just a father wanting to build something real with the woman he loves and the children he'd die to protect. Through the car window, I saw Drake Industries towering above us. The empire he'd just walked away from. For us. Austin, I said. Tonight. We'll be waiting. 1 year later, I stood in the soaring atrium of the Lewis Drake Family Innovation Center, watching my sons cut the ribbon on their first real building. The Austin skyline glittered through walls of smart glass that cleaned the air while generating power. Zion's idea. Murals depicting architectural history covered the community walls. Zane's vision. "Mama, are you crying?" Zane whispered, squeezing my hand. "Happy tears, baby." "Dad says you always cry at ribbon cuttings," Zion observed, analytical as ever. Dad. The word still sent shivers through me. They'd taken to Ethan like they'd been waiting for him all along, which maybe they had. "Your mother's just remembering when buildings were smaller dreams," Ethan said, appearing beside us in jeans and a t-shirt. No more three-piece suits. The former CEO had become something better, a present father who taught our sons that power meant lifting others up. "Ready?" he murmured to me. "4? The surprise." And before I could ask, Sage appeared with my mother and half of Austin's architecture community. But that wasn't the surprise. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan announced, "before we open this center to the public, there's something else we need to celebrate." The lights dimmed. A projection filled the atrium wall, architectural plans, but not for a building, for a life. 7 years ago, Ethan continued, I met a woman who designed buildings that breathed, who saw cities as living things, who believed architecture could heal communities. The plans shifted, showing Aurora Spire, then Eden Project, then the Austin Community Centers, our whole history in blueprints and dreams. She also believed in protecting what mattered most, he said, eyes finding mine, even when it meant sacrificing everything. "Ethan," I warned, but he was already moving. He dropped to one knee, right there in front of everyone. Zane gasped. Zion pulled out his phone to record. My mother started crying. "Amara Lewis," Ethan said, holding up a ring that caught the light like captured stars. "You've already given me everything. 2 perfect sons, a real home, a life that matters. But I'm greedy. I want more. I want every sunrise, every blueprint, every dream we haven't dreamed yet." Dad practiced this 100 times, Zane Stage whispered. He made charts. "With statistical probabilities of success," Zion added. Despite everything, the crowd, the cameras, the magnitude of the moment, I laughed. "Did the charts predict this?" I asked, gesturing to my tears. "Slide 47, Ethan said seriously. "Also slides 12 through 19. You're very predictable when happy." "Yes," I said. "I haven't asked yet." "Ask faster." "Marry me. Build forever with me. Let me love you in every language, including blueprints." "Yes," I repeated. "Yes to all of it." He slipped the ring on, a band of recycled gold set with ethically sourced diamonds in a pattern that echoed the Yoruba designs from Aurora Spire. Even in this, he'd thought of everything. The crowd erupted, but I only saw him. This man who'd given up an empire for a chance to teach our sons about integrity, who'd spent months learning to braid hair because Zane decided he wanted locks like mine, who stayed up until 3 a.m. helping Zion calculate load-bearing weights for imaginary cities. "One more surprise," Sage announced, "if the lovebirds are done being disgustingly perfect." The projection changed again, this time showing real buildings across the world. Schools in Nigeria, clinics in Haiti, community centers in Detroit, all bearing the same simple credit, Lewis Drake Foundation. "What?" I started. "The money from my Drake Industries shares," Ethan explained. "Every penny building what matters. The boys helped choose the first projects. We picked places that needed hope buildings," Zane explained proudly. "Structures that serve social infrastructure needs while maintaining environmental sustainability," Zion clarified. "That too," Zane agreed. Later, as the party swirled around us, I found myself on the rooftop garden, our signature now. Every building crowned with green space and possibility. The Austin skyline sparkled, so different from San Francisco but equally full of promise. "No regrets?" Ethan asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "About?" "Taking 7 years to get here." I leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of a man who'd learned that strength meant knowing when to yield. We needed those years. You needed to learn that power wasn't about control. I needed to learn that independence didn't mean isolation. And the boys? The boys needed to know they were loved for exactly who they are, not what empire they might inherit. Speaking of which, he turned me to face the party below, where Zion was explaining sustainable design to the mayor while Zane painted the sunset. Think they'll forgive us for the baby sister? I spun so fast I nearly fell. The what? Slide 93, he said, grinning. Unexpected plot twist, though really leaving me alone with those pregnancy tests was asking for trouble. Ethan Drake, are you telling me? 3 months. Sage found the tests in your bathroom and couldn't resist detective work. Surprise? I should have been angry at the invasion of privacy. Should have worried about timing, logistics, the 1,000 complications of expanding our already complex family. Instead, I kissed him. Right there under the Texas stars, with our son's laughter floating up from below and a new life growing between us. A girl? I asked when we broke apart. Too early to know. But Zion's running probability models and Zane's already designing her room. Of course they are. It's pink and includes a trebuchet. Of course it does. We stayed on that rooftop as the party wound down, planning a wedding that would happen in the community garden, a house that would grow with our family, a foundation that would build hope across the world. The boys joined us eventually, curling between us to watch stars and argue about constellation names. I love you, I told them all. Ethan, Zion, Zane, and the little seedling who'd join our beautiful chaos soon. Every impossible, imperfect piece of this family. We love you too, Mama, Zane said, even when you cry at buildings. Especially then, Zion corrected. That's when we know it matters. And it did matter. All of it. Every tear, every year, every broken dream that had led to this moment. We'd built something stronger than towers, more lasting than skylines. We'd built a home in each other's hearts. And that, more than any architecture, was our masterpiece. 6 months later, the wedding invitation read, "The Lewis Drake family requests the honor of your presence as 2 architects become one blueprint." But standing in the community garden, surrounded by plants the neighborhood kids had helped us grow, I knew we'd already built what mattered most. Aurora Spire glowed in the distance. My first dream, now part of a skyline that included Ethan's sustainable towers and our joint innovations. But the real architecture was here, in how Zion stood as ring bearer, solemnly guarding the bands we'd designed together. In how Zane had painted a mural of our family story on the garden wall. In how my mother sang blessings in Yoruba while Sage officiated with irreverent joy. Even Cordelia had come, sitting stiffly in the front row but softening when Zane brought her a flower for the dragon lady, who's learning to be a grandma. Ready? Ethan asked, taking my hands. I was 8 months pregnant, wearing a dress Zane designed and shoes Zion had structurally reinforced. My engagement ring caught the sunset, throwing rainbows across the sustainable bamboo altar the boys had built. I've been ready for 7 years, I told him. As Sage began the ceremony, I thought about architecture, how the strongest buildings aren't the tallest ones. They're the ones that flex without breaking, that shelter without imprisoning, that rise from foundations of truth and trust. The couple has written their own vows, Sage announced, because of course they have. Ethan went first. Amara, you taught me that the most beautiful designs begin with love. Every building we create, every life we shape, every dream we draw, it all starts here. With you, with them, with us. I promise to be your foundation when you need strength, your steel when you need structure, and your open sky when you need to soar. I was crying before he finished. Happy tears, as the boys would say. Ethan, I managed. You gave up an empire for a chance at something real. You chose love over legacy, family over fortune. You showed our sons that true power builds up, never tears down. I promise to design our life with joy, to blueprint our days with purpose, and to always, always meet you on the rooftop when we need to remember why we build. Mama, Zane whispered loudly, you're supposed to say I do now. I do, we said together, laughing through tears. Then, by the power vested in me by the state of Texas and a really expensive online ordination, Sage declared. I pronounce you architects of each other's hearts. Kiss already so we can eat cake. We kissed as the sun set over Austin, as our boys cheered, as our daughter kicked between us, as the community we'd built celebrated love winning over fear. Later, cutting the cake Zion had engineered to be structurally sound despite Zane's artistic additions, I caught Ethan's eye. He was watching our sons explain their latest design to a reporter, something about floating cities for climate refugees. No regrets? I asked, echoing his question from months ago. Only one, he said, pulling me close. That it took so long to realize the only empire worth building is the one measured in love. Good thing we're architects, I said. We can always add more rooms. And we would. Room for our daughter, Amani. Peace in Swahili. Room for the children who'd find refuge in our foundation's buildings. Room for dreams we hadn't imagined yet. Because that's what love does. It builds. It expands. It creates space for impossibility to become inevitable. The music started, something the boys had composed using sustainable instruments and pure joy. Ethan held out his hand. Dance with me? Always, I promised. And there, in a garden built by community, surrounded by family forged through fire, under a sky full of architectural stars, we danced. The most beautiful designs really do begin with love. They end with it too.
If this story taught me anything, it's this. The foundations of life aren't built on concrete or steel. They're built on trust, love, and the courage to fight for what truly matters. Don't let fear make your choices. Build your life like the strongest structures, flexible, honest, and unbreakable at the core. What about you? If you had to choose between your dreams and your family, what would you do? Share your thoughts in the comments.